Bernie Sanders is out campaigning, and he's, of course, cracking skulls Bernie Sanders style, and he's calling for the return to a 40-hour work week. Now, when I first read that headline, my reaction was the same as probably a lot of your guys' reaction was, which is, I thought we already kind of had that. Like, at least I thought that was the idea. That's like the norm in America. Everybody just kind of accepts, like, yeah, no, 40-hour work week. That's the way it works. Well, it turns out that when you look at the data, that's actually not true. We've kind of gotten away from that over the years. And naturally, we've moved in the working more hours direction. It's not like we moved away from it and everybody's like relaxing on a beach somewhere in Maui. No, we're moving in the wrong direction, in my opinion, where we're working much harder, we're working much longer, and everybody's fucking stressed out. So Bernie Sanders is now making this a campaign issue, and, you know, my response to that is good. Good for him. I love it when you have somebody who pulls the other candidates to the left, and he says stuff that actually makes sense, that the American people actually like. So Bernie Sanders, as usual, I have nothing but praise for him. But this is actually a teaching moment here, because it illustrates something that we've been talking about for a long time, which is that the political spectrum in America has shifted significantly to the right. Now, sometimes we say that, and a lot of people just kind of scoff and, you know, pay no attention to it because they think that's just something liberals say. That's not necessarily true. I don't know where they get it from. I don't know what the evidence is for that. Well, again, teaching moment, because here we have a perfect example where I can prove to you that definitely on this issue, but others too, we have shifted to the right. So while the person who's viewed as a uber lefty socialist is calling for a 40-hour work week in America, let me give you a little history here. From Alternet, they say, quote, the April 15th, 1933 issue of Newsweek, one of the first in the magazine's history, contains a remarkable cover headline. It says, bill cutting work week to 30 hours startles the nation. Indeed, only 9 days earlier, on April 6th, the Black-Connery bill had passed in the United States Senate by a wide margin. That bill fixed the official American work week at 5 days and 30 hours. Okay. In 1933, the Senate passed a bill that said 30-hour work week, why not? And their reasoning was fascinating and totally true. They were like, hello, were you guys not here for the Industrial Revolution thing that happened? Do you not realize that we're way more productive than we've ever been in history? We have machines, we have technology, you know, everything is so, is put into a process that makes it so much smoother to do all of our jobs. Why wouldn't we work less hours? We'd be crazy not to. So Democrats and Republicans were like, yeah, 30-hour work week. I don't see, is that controversial? I don't even see how that's controversial. This was 1933. Today, the uber-liberal socialist guy is like 40-hour work week. See what I'm saying? The spectrum has shifted to the right big time. They continue here and say, Franklin Roosevelt and Labor Secretary Francis Perkins also initially endorsed the idea, but the president buckled under opposition from the National Association of Manufacturers and dropped his support for the bill, which was then defeated in the House of Representatives. They say, in its place, Roosevelt advocated job-creating New Deal spending and a 40-hour workweek limit passed into law on October 24, 1938, as part of the Fair Labor Standards Act. So, there you have it. We had a 30-hour workweek. It got through the Senate. The president was on board with it. The labor secretary was on board with it. Then at the last second, the lobbyists showed up, and they were like, let's pump your brakes, son. Okay, let's do 40-hour work week. Let's do 40-hour work week, and okay, you could do some more New Deal spending, and it is what it is. Now, look, I don't want to say that the New Deal spending was bad. It wasn't. It was fantastic. I love the New Deal. I don't want to say the 40-hour work week was bad. It wasn't. It's better than nothing. But we had 30 hours, and they buckled, and they gave 40 hours. But again, what this shows you is the political spectrum has gone so far to the right over the years that we're in fucking fascist territory. Our ultra-right-wingers are Christian Taliban people and fascist people. But the article's still not done. There's more. They say, if the idea that the 30-hour work week almost became the law of the land 80 years ago comes as a shock, consider a New York Times headline on July 31st, 1910. How long should a man's vacation be? President Taft says everyone should have 3 months. President Taft. They say, quote, at a time when workers produced a tenth of what they do today, William Howard Taft, a conservative Republican, argued that all workers needed 2 or 3 months of holiday time each year to improve health, family connections, and productivity. In fucking 1910, the conservative Republican position, the right-wing position was, yeah, let's have a 3-month vacation paid for everybody. If Bernie proposed that today, as a guy who says I'm a socialist, if he proposed that today, you know what the response would be? Liberals and conservatives would go, look at this idiot! He wants 3 months vacation time! Oh, that's good. That's good. We'll consider like 3 days vacation time, Bernie. Culture matters, society matters, context matters. And the most important thing for you to remember here is the only reason you or somebody else might think that 3 months vacation is crazy is because we live in a society where nobody talks about it, nobody considers it, and your ass is used to working nearly every week of the year. Every week of the year. The average off in America is like one or two. So the only reason you think this is weird is because you're used to busting your ass until you collapse at the end of the fucking week. But I got news for you. That's more weird. Who decided that's the norm and we're all just supposed to accept it? Like, all right, you get 1 week off a year. That's it. Nobody argue. Everybody shut the fuck up. Why? Why would we shut up? That's ridiculous. If we're starting a debate about this from scratch, we're creating a society from scratch, why wouldn't the starting position be, okay, look, I know we got to work in order to make everything run smoothly, in order to have all the material goods we need, et cetera, et cetera. We all get it. Let's do half and half. Half the time you work, half the time you're off. Wouldn't that be the starting position of any logical discussion? But no, the pendulum has just fucking shifted dead right. And everybody's like, I guess this is what it is. I guess we work until we fucking collapse. And I guess we have no freedom. Look, man, when you mix that together with the fact that a minimum wage in America still isn't a living wage, it's easy to see we're living in a fucking wage slave society. It's comical to call this freedom. No, we're human beings. We need time off. We need to hang out with our neighbors and our friends and partake in our hobbies and be creative. And when you mandate that we rent ourselves on a marketplace, we rent our labor on a marketplace for the majority of our life, that's insanity. So I'm happy Bernie Sanders is calling for a return to the 40-hour work week. But in a society that makes sense, let's start talking about a 4-day work week. Let's start talking about a 30-hour work week. Let's start talking about 3 months paid vacation by law. Let's move in that direction because that direction makes sense. What we're doing right now is the crazy thing.